I cannot tell you how important the seller's disclosures are. I got my ass kicked on that one. I get the call. Hey, should I disclose this? If you are asking the question, you know the answer. You shouldn't know. Buyer has a right to revoke buyer's offer unless this transaction is exempt. So what would be an exempt transaction from the seller property disclosure statement? New home, never lived in? You still have to give page 1 though. So this is residential. TIAL. And residential is 1 to 4 units. So in general, if it's 1 to 4 units, so a house, a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, it is not exempt. If it is 5+ units, that's commercial. And there are no disclosures for commercial property, as well as vacant land. And a rental property that you've never lived in that the buyer does not intend to live in is also exempt from disclosures. I got my ass kicked on that one. He is sharp as a tack, and I've learned a lot from him. He just beats my ass and rolls me in the dirt. I'm like, thanks for the lesson, bud. If that's where I learned this, well, right, you pull up, and it's all right here. ORS 105.464, it describes the exemptions. Like when I call my attorney with questions, he pulls up the law and then sends it to me. Kind of like I say, did you read the contract? He does the same thing. I'm like, but Joe, it's so complicated. And then I read it and I'm like, ah, shit. It's black and white. If then, right? So watch out for that. Don't look like a fool if you write an offer, right? You're working with a gal that's looking at 15 units. Don't ask for disclosures. They don't have to give them to you. If it's vacant land in the vacant land sale agreement, you can make it contingent upon the seller providing disclosures, but the seller doesn't have to. It's not statutory. Statutory is law. It's not the law. Only residential 1 to 4 units with the caveat of you've never lived there and whoever's buying is never going to live there. But still, 1 to 4, regardless of that, you can typically get disclosures because the other agents don't understand that. Is that fair? Buyer may exercise the revocation right only by delivering a signed written statement of revocation to seller disapproving of the seller's disclosures. Revocation statement may be delivered before seller delivers disclosures to buyer or within 5 business days after seller delivers the disclosures. If seller delivers to buyer before the effective date, so that's before the offer was accepted, sometimes that'll happen, right? Hey, Mad Dog, I'm showing one of your listings. Can you get me the disclosures before we take a look? Right, there's some buyers, they just want to look at everything. They're like, dude, if it has a sump pump, we're out. And they just want to know. They're not even going to waste your time. And I love people like that. They know what they want. Give me the disclosures. I'd rather read 5 pages of check boxes and say, hey, it's got a sump pump. We're out of here, as opposed to showing it, writing the offer, paying $500, $600 for a home inspection, and then finding out it has a sump pump. Does that make sense? But if the seller delivers prior to accepted offer, then it's just a regular contingency like the inspection that would be the first business day after acceptance. Make sense? The revocation period will begin on the effective date instead of beginning on any other date determined by any other law, statute, or rule. Questions on lead? Did you guys learn something already? So for regulatory reasons, right, like the brokerage requires documents, they just want to see the disclosure pamphlet and the disclosure. That makes them good. But contractually, it's pretty clear, right? Seller shall deliver to buyer. Seller will. Will, shall, same thing. Like that's a, you shall. Home Buyer Protection Act. Construction liens can be filed by contractors and building material suppliers for new construction, additions, and remodeling project. Construction liens filed after closing could expose buyers to liability for costs the seller should pay before closing. Oregon's Home Buyer Protection Act requires sellers to protect buyer against these liens. If the property is a single-family residence, condominium unit, or 2 to 4 dwelling building, and more than $50,000 in improvements are completed at the property during the 90 calendar days before closing, seller will, at or before closing, complete and deliver to buyer notice of compliance with the Home Buyer Protection Act provided by the Oregon Construction Contractors Board. So this used to only live in the new construction sale agreement, but now it doesn't. So a house that was recently fixed up, this would apply. Typically, the title company deals with it. They're going to ask the seller, hey, have you had any major renovations, $70,000 or more in the last 90 days? Because the lien perfection period is 90 days. Once you completed the project, the contractors and material suppliers have 90 days from the date of completion to file a lien. So if you finished the project 30 days ago and it closes in 30 days, there would be 30 days after close in which the contractors and the material suppliers could file a lien on the property even though the person that had the work done no longer owns it. Then the new owner, no likey. Cool. And liens, if there's a lien on your property, the person with the lien can foreclose. They can push you to the courthouse steps. Even if you got a first and a second mortgage on it, they can still foreclose, force a sale of the house to get paid. So it's getting to be very, very serious. You don't want liens. So if you see it's been really nicely fixed up, say, hey, this is going to be a thing, right? Hey, I'm a real estate agent. You pay me the big bucks because I know what I'm talking about. I got a couple sneaky ways to get you out of a deal when you're buying. And as a seller, we got to deal with this. It looks like you put some money into it. How much did you spend? Do you have receipts? Has everybody been paid? You're going to have to prove that to the title company before we can get a title insurance policy. I cannot tell you how important the seller's disclosures are. If there's anything, right? And it's real easy. It is super easy. I get the call. Hey, should I disclose this? What's my answer?
Yes.
If you are asking the question, you know the answer. Yes. Hey, like the neighbor been lighting the fence on fire at night. Dude, you got to disclose that shit. Because the guy across the street has a camera and has it on record of this guy harassing you. You have to disclose that. If the fence is not on the property line, sometimes they're not, that's got to be disclosed. Anything the seller knows that you've got to disclose, because in the offer you're saying, I don't know about any hazardous substances. I don't know of any material defects. I don't know about liens. I don't know about any governmental agency violations. I don't know about any issues with the fence, driveway, whatever, not being what we think it is. And it's properly fully insured. So if any of this is not true in the slightest form, you've got to make sure it makes it on the disclosures. I had a listing appointment last week. We signed docs here at the office, and he's asking me questions. And so I'm writing down all this stuff that we're going to need to put on the seller's disclosure addendum. He's like, well, like sometimes there's like water under the house. Okay, water under the house. And there's like this stuff. It's called efflorescence. There's just white stuff all over the concrete. So that means that water's come through, the water evaporated and left behind minerals. Efflorescence. Okay, let's disclose that. Hey, yeah, the house flooded a couple years ago. Is there an insurance claim? House flooded a couple years ago. Okay, do you have receipts for that? Yes, we have receipts. Okay, cool. Right, so all of this stuff we've got to get written down. And the reason we do that is it covers the seller's butt, right? The reality is, right, we live in a now, 5-second dopamine hit world. The buyers, most of them don't have the attention span to read the disclosures. I say it every week. If you want to keep a secret, put it in a book, right? We'll write the most brutal disclosures. Seller advises, you not purchase the home. Home will fall apart. You will die inside. There are ghosts. Poop shoots the wrong direction when you flush the toilet. And they're like, signed. All right, here's the disclosures back. I'm like, oh, you didn't even read them. Because you'll know if they read them, right? And so as the real estate agent, you're a fiduciary. The bar of a fiduciary is above that of marriage. Above, right? You're supposed to take care of your clients in a way that is more caring than you'd take care of your spouse. Assuming you love your spouse and you like them. Sometimes they hit each other. I'm talking about regular, healthy relationship, right? So if, right, you throw down your jacket so your wife doesn't have to walk through a puddle, you need to lay down on the puddle for your client to keep their feet dry. So we must, when we're representing a buyer, we must read every single line, right? You're reading it and then you're writing, question, line 186, line 127. Can you explain this? I don't understand what this means. Your buyer's not going to read it. You must read it on their behalf to protect them. Okay?
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Is it important to disclose everything?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it important to read the disclosures?
Yes.
And if your client's worried, your seller client's worried about filling out disclosures, can we tell them that, hey, reality is the other side's probably not going to read it, bro. Just get it all out there. Remember, Jenna had a buyer on one of mine, and the guy said dishwasher didn't work in the disclosures. And then the buyer's like, the dishwasher doesn't work. I'm like, no, we disclosed it. Shoot. Buyer and seller's agents will not be responsible for conducting any inspection or investigation. That's not our job, okay? They got questions about title, they call the title company. If they got questions about the type of flooring it is, they need to call the home inspector, right? Make sure that you don't make yourself a home inspector. Being knowledgeable when you're walking through a house and say, that looks like a failed foundation, that needs to be looked at. That needs to be looked at. That roof doesn't look so good. You need to have an inspector verify that. Don't say, hey, the roof is good. The roof looks okay to me, but I don't know what I'm talking about. You need to have it inspected. Any questions? Does the heating and air work? Hey, it's blowing hot air, but you should have a heating and air company look at it, right? Because you are not the inspector. Do not become the inspector. We just made it very clear that you're not, so don't become one. Buyer acknowledges that seller or any agent do not warrant the square footage of any structure or land being purchased. If square footage or land size is a material consideration, all structures and land should be measured by a buyer before signing or should be made an express contingency in this agreement. If your buyer's freaked out about the exact square footage, you need to put it in there. I got sued for this. I won, but I got sued for this. You should have known. Like, bro, how big is this room? Could it easily be 500 square feet? It's really hard to know. Unless you knew that these were 3 foot by 2 foot tiles and you counted them or you measured it. Like you'd be amazed. Now, sometimes if you're in a 1,600 square foot brand new house and then you go to the 1,400 square foot brand new house, you go, oh, the bedrooms feel smaller and the living room's a little bit tighter. I can see where the 200 feet came from. But the hallways, well, you're just walking generally through homes. We don't know. So if it's a big deal to the buyer, they need to have it measured, which is why we have appraisers. Seller's maintenance and insurance obligations. This is a big one too. Seller will maintain all electrical wiring, heating, cooling, plumbing, irrigation equipment, and systems and the balance of the property, including the yard, in substantially their present condition until the time buyer is entitled to possession. Seller will keep the property fully insured through closing. I got a call from one of those agents that are mean. Seller's yard looks like shit, bro. You're in violation of the contract. I was like, crap. Right? So does sometimes the seller say, oh, it's sold, I'm going to let the yard go? I had that happen a couple times this summer. Dude, where'd your landscaper? Oh yeah, since we got the accepted offer, we shut the irrigation off and fired the landscaper. I'm like, you can't do that. It was nice and green when they looked at it and you need to keep it. What are you doing, bro? So you need to know that this exists. Oh, hey man, the water heater started leaking. We're just gonna leave for the buyer. You can't. Hey, the AC's like making a real weird sound. It's busted. It's got to get fixed, right? Like, you have to keep the house in the same condition it was the day the buyer looked at it. All aspects, the balance of the property. If the gutters were clean and a bunch of leaves fell on the roof, you got to clean the gutters. The gutters were clean when the buyer looked at it this summer. It was a 6-month escrow. Does that make sense? The yard's got to be the same. If anything breaks, the seller's responsible to fix it until the buyer takes possession of the property. So that would be, according to the contract, if you have possession 5 days after closing, the seller has to maintain the house after closing until the buyer takes possession, right? It doesn't say close. It says possession. Possession. Seller's responsibility until buyer takes possession. Another reason that you want close and possession to be the same day. Less gray area. Because there's a conflict with this in the possession after close addenda. Smart home features. This is a new one too. Seller will identify all smart home features within 3 business days if not filled in after the effective date. In addition, seller will provide all necessary information to a buyer to access smart home features at closing. That's your Nest thermostat, your Ring doorbell, the Alexa, turn the lights on, all that shit. So basically, you need to make sure if they're leaving the smart home stuff, because that's the question. There's a question here about it. Oh, there used to be a question. Are there smart home things? They removed the question. They have to log out and make them like factory reset before closing, right? Because if the Nest thermostat controls the heating and air system and it still has a PIN code on it, like if you go to an Airbnb, you can't change the thermostat, that needs to be reset. And if they don't do it, the seller's obligated to come back and do it. Make sense? So just, if you're walking around, you see an Nest, say, hey, before we get too far in this, remember, you're gonna have to set that thing to 0 and unlock it before you leave. And if you don't, we'll have an issue. We try to, as much as possible, avoid the post-close headaches, right? The seller left the house a disaster. The doorbell is locked. The cameras are locked. The keys don't work. It smells like Indian food. Hey man, is that alarm system owned? If it's owned, then it would convey. If it's leased, you know that there's gonna be a bunch of holes all over the house because the alarm company is gonna repo that shit, or the buyer's gonna take it with them. Make sense? Again, post-close headaches. Hey, the alarm system's gone. Right? Like, it's why we want to talk to people. Rule of thumb, when in doubt, you need to have one smoke alarm and CO detector within 15 feet of all sleeping rooms and one CO detector on every floor. So smoke alarms are with sleeping rooms. CO detectors are with sleeping rooms and one on each floor. So if this was a house and this was not a bedroom, we would still need a CO detector up here because it's one on each floor. Make sense? And as we go further in, you'll realize that if you don't have these and there's a loan, the appraiser has to come back and verify that they are correct. The seller is responsible to pay the appraiser to come back out, and that's usually 150 to 250 bucks. So just get the smokies going as soon as the house is listed. Otherwise, your sellers will be real tweaked out when they have to write a check for 200 bucks to have an appraiser come back out because they didn't have a battery in their smoke detector. Cool?